Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And PerGron.
And it's time yet again to explore the vast catalog. I can't even say the intro with a straight face. To explore the vast catalog and find out what's a must or a bust on Disney Plus. Tonight we're talking about pretty much the only thing that's not a bust on Disney Plus. Skeleton Crew.
Yeah.
Yeah, because God knows we were not going to do episode by episode recaps of What If Season 3, right?
I haven't even watched it.
Oh, don't.
I never even got through season 2.
I honestly, yeah, I kind of forced myself through season 2.
I think the last Marvel thing on Disney Plus I watched was Moon Knight. It's been a minute.
Disney Plus not doing well. Yeah, indeed.
Yep.
But tonight we are talking about... Yeah, this is good. I am going to say, PerGron, episode 6 and 7. After episode 7, there is one very particular thing that this show could possibly do that would kind of make me drop the ball on it just a little bit. I would still really like it overall.
Mm-hmm.
But barring one particular thing that I don't think we're going to get, bearing what happened in episode 7, this is looking to be my number one favorite Star Wars show. It's better than The Mandalorian for me. It's at the very least more fun and more digestible than Andor, if not, obviously Andor has like the more lofty ambitions, and I think the prison arc of Andor is probably the single best thing that Disney Star Wars is ever going to do. Let's just be honest here. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think episode 6 and particularly episode 7 of this show, very, very strong. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, while I still think Andor is my favorite because I really like that political side of it, I watched the Fight the Empire sequence all the fucking time.
Right.
It's my cover photo on Facebook as soon as the election happened.
Okay. My cover photo on Facebook was just like Harris Walls, obviously.
But yeah, while I think that's the best Star Wars, and I think it's the best Star Wars in general, like personally, and I think it's the best Star Wars we're probably ever going to get, I think this is my favorite. I think at this point, I love watching this show.
I can see myself rewatching this a lot more than Andor. That's the thing. And for me, especially now that I'm like putting together my top 20 of the year, as years go on, PerGron, rewatchability becomes like probably the biggest factor for me when it comes to ranking stuff.
That's fair.
What am I going to actually want to take the time and digest again and again? So, yeah, and with this show, I mean, I could see this show being like a yearly watch for me at this point.
Yeah, this is something that I'll definitely be showing to my kids one day.
Mm-hmm.
Like one day when I have children, this will be their introduction to Star Wars, I think.
Which is a much better introduction than like the prequels, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was introduced with.
Right.
That's how
I was lucky enough
now.
I don't care what people say about the Star Wars special editions. The Star Wars special editions on the big screen, mind you, were my introduction to Star Wars. When I had I literally went into Star Wars blind as like a 7-year-old when the special editions came out. So I don't give a shit what anyone says about the special editions. Those fucking movies in particular, those versions of the movies are special to me.
I stand by the point that Jedi Rocks is better than Lapti Nek.
Sure.
I stand by that.
Now, if we get into like post special edition, like revisions, like having Hayden Christensen and at the end of Return of the Jedi and having James Earl Jones screaming no at the Return of the Jedi, and basically anything involving the end of Return of the Jedi, the wings are free! Yeah, no, all of that, no, get that out of there. But the original 1996, 1997 special editions, close spot in my heart. Yeah. Just for giving me those theatrical experiences I was literally like going in blind. I had the reaction, like a very genuine reaction, like, what the fuck? They're drinking blue milk? What am I watching? Like, no cultural baggage attached, just my genuine reaction.
That's the best.
Right. Anyways, so let's get things started. We have two big name directors here for these two episodes. We have Bryce Dallas Howard on episode 6, and then Lee Isaac Chung on episode 7. So let's get started on episode 6.
Yeah.
Zero Friends Again. This is more or less KB's episode, which I feel like is very much needed, because I feel like she's kind of been in some ways the heart of the group, but in other ways kind of the most background character out of the group. And I feel like this episode really brought her into the forefront.
Yeah, this one definitely gave her stuff to do and allowed her to be a bigger player in the story than she had been up to then.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite elements of this episode is it comes right at the very beginning as they're all sliding down the trash chute or wherever the hell they're sliding down. And KB, like, in spite of literally being in a situation where she probably knows that she's kind of fucked, right? Like going down into God knows where, she's still got like this shitting grin on her face as she's sliding down. And that's kind of like, that just kind of goes to show like the the childhood joy that this show kind of exudes.
Yeah, you know what it reminded me of?
Huh.
It reminded me of the scene in the first Ice Age when they were in the ice caves.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. Yeah.
And as a kid, I always wanted to do that. So,
So let's see. This episode does have one of my I would call it a trope that I'm a fan of, which is where you start the story with two pairs of characters, right? And then at the dramatic high point of the story, the pairs of characters split ways and align with the other person in the pair. So Neil and Fern go off together. Wim and KB go off together. I think that's nice.
yeah.
I still really like the interaction right at the beginning of the series, where it's like, these girls are so stupid. These boys are so stupid. Like, I love how that's where we came from. And I think the show did a really good job of actually, building these kids into a little bit of a family unit in a really wholesome way.
Yeah.
And this episode kind of tests that a little bit.
Yeah, I like seeing Neil, the most passive of the group, paired off with Fern, who's the most aggressive of the group. And I like seeing Wim get a chance to be a hero, especially after his fuck up with the lightsaber. He thought that was his hero moment, and it turns out his hero moment was a lot more understated, and I really like that.
I thought the whole message of like, I bet saving a friend's life wasn't as epic as you thought it would be, basically. Like, that was a really, really nice moment, really well done. Probably one of the best character beats in the whole show, I think. Just that whole sequence of events trying to get her headband fixed. I like how KB in general is kind of like playing around with the idea of disability in the Star Wars universe, which is really not something that, besides like fucking Luke Skywalker having the robot hand.
And even then,
yeah. He's arguably better at combat with the robot hand.
I think the only disability we actually see in Star Wars is Anakin's stepdad, who's missing a leg, and he's in that hover chair in episode 2.
Oh God, are you talking about the
Mr. Lars, whatever his name is? But
so Uncle Owen's dad, essentially.
Yeah, he's like got a wheelchair and he's got one leg.
That's a deep cut, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And other than that, everyone just gets like cybernetics that make them cooler. They get to wear a cool emo glove.
And to be fair, KB gets to wear a cool Cyclops helmet.
She does get
But no, I really like that we kind of I like how when the show first starts, we don't really know what her deal is. If you remember, I at first stupidly thought that she was like just going to be a droid, which was like, that was bad media literacy on my end, I think. But yeah, I like how we slowly build up what her disability actually is and how it affects her on this planet. I thought it was a really really well done kind of like trickle out of information for the character.
Yeah, I like being able to learn a little bit about her, and it's still not like entirely clear what her accident was, because it doesn't really matter. So I like that
Right,
part.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter what happened to her. Like, she had an accident. Okay, that's all we really need to know.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I feel like other Star Wars shows or other shows in general might do the flashback thing, but I feel like this show is so focused on the present adventure that it's just not necessary. And if we were
Yeah,
to see a flashback like that, I feel like it would throw off the tone.
yeah. In a lesser Dave Filoni project, this would have been, we would have seen KB's incident, and it would have been Boba Fett kidnapping her, and he's going to put her on the ship, and then Jar Jar Binks shows up and bonks her over the head
Oh,
while
God.
juggling food in order to distract Darth Maul, who's also there. That's what would have happened. So I appreciate that that's not what's happening.
Tell
That
us how
might
you
have been what
really feel
happened.
about Dave Filoni.
I famously don't like Dave Filoni. I like Clone Wars.
And
I
that's
like, but that's it.
it. Fucking, and I hate John Favreau.
hmm I like
So,
Rebels too. I like his animated stuff. He can stay the fuck away from live action.
so like, yeah, Mandalorian for me was like, okay, Dave Filoni and I should say, like, I hate John Favreau post The Lion King. I like John
Uh-huh.
Favreau as an actor just fine.
hmm
And before The Lion King, he did some pretty decent movies.
Yeah, he did Iron Man.
But The Lion King 2019 is genuinely one of my least favorite fucking cinematic abortions I've ever seen in my goddamn life, and I can't stand it.
That's fair. That's fair.
Anyways, I'm glad we didn't get a John Favreau directed episode. I'm actually kind of surprised we didn't, to tell you the
Yeah.
truth, with the directors lineup we had this season. All right, any notes on Jod? I feel like Jod's storyline this episode is just kind of blends together into next episode, so I kind of feel like we can sort of yada yada past him this episode.
Yeah, I mean, he was just doing his thing. It was just kind of what we expected. Yeah, let's just jump into the next episode. Oh,
Well,
one
really
real
quick, I
thing.
just want to say I wasn't crazy about the escaping the giant robot crab climax. I thought it was a little tacked on, like, oh, we need to have the third act action set piece.
I agree with that to an extent. I also think it's the most Star Wars thing.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
I also like the ship reveal,
Uh-huh.
which kind of pissed me off because I was actively building the Lego set of the Onyx Cinder
Oh, really?
while watching episode 6. I had just bought it, 140 bucks. And I was building it, and as I'm putting it together, they shed the hull, and I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Right.
I'm building the other one. Same thing happened to me in season 2 of Mandalorian. I was building the Razor Crest. And then
Oh,
it gets fucking
God.
blown up. I'm done buying Lego Star Wars ships until
Okay,
this series is
when you were
over.
watching through Breaking Bad, were you putting to Breaking Bad season 3? Were you putting together the RV Lego set?
Yep.
All right. I wonder if that exists. It probably fucking does.
There's definitely a somebody built one out there.
Right. All right. Okay, so yeah, next episode, episode 7, we're gonna be in so much trouble. Let's not bury the lead, okay? We buried the lead long enough. I can't anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Our poor sweet baby Smee.
What? How dare they? How fucking dare they? This hurt more than when they killed what's his face in the Penguin.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go that far. That hurt quite a bit, man.
No, this one hurt me more. Don't do that to the droid. You can't do that to the droid.
It's brutal, dude. It's like the fact that Smee kind of is in the background in episode 6 too, so he doesn't really have a lot to do until he has that big heroic moment, and then it's like just now, like, just immediately as soon as he stands up for the kids, he's fucking dead.
I love that Claimsies came back into it.
Right.
I love that it's like, no, well, technically this ship isn't yours because you have the other one.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then he covers Wim's mouth. That was so funny. He's like, uh-oh, this might have some backing to it. But then I loved when he's like, that's not how this works. Yeah, close enough. That was
a great character moment of like, the droid kind of getting a little bit of free will and being like, no, fuck
mhm.
this shit. Like, I am going to go with the person that I want to be the captain of this ship, not
Yep.
this guy. I'm not going to follow a code to the T. Great bit of character development for a droid there.
Yeah. In his last moments of life.
Okay, let's see. So yeah, with Jod just fucking not just killing Smee, but literally like beheading him, dude.
Mhm.
Um, I'm gonna say this much. I feel like the only way that this show is not going to stick to landing is don't if we somehow humanize John after this. If we
Yeah.
somehow loop back around to like, oh, Wim, it's okay. I'm a father figure to you. That was a
I think
terrible
it's going to be
goofball
a
impression.
John Silver thing, if anything. I
But
think it's going to be.
I don't even think he deserves a John Silver thing though.
That's
That's the
fair.
thing. And I respect him for that.
Hmm. Yeah, I can see it being like he's a bad guy, but he escapes, and there's like a little nod to the kids or something.
Right,
Um,
but at this point, the kid that's I wouldn't be surprised if that is what happens.
mhm.
But I will say, if I were any one of those kids, I would be flipping that motherfucker the bird, man. I wouldn't like if Wim just gives like a stoic nod, like, yeah, you might be a bastard, but you're kind of all right. I'm like, no, this guy is a fucking bastard.
Yeah, no, you gotta
This guy is
publicly call
genuinely
for
like
his.
one of the more evil non-Empire Star Wars people that we've ever had in this universe.
You gotta
Honestly,
call for his public execution.
I mean, so yeah, I think it's a hell of a cliffhanger too. Like we were really, really building up John with the lightsaber,
Hmm.
and I love that it took until the cliffhanger of episode 6 to get there. But now that we're there, I'm very excited to see it play out.
Yeah, I love that as of this moment, and this could change in episode 8. It doesn't seem like it's going to. Um, I love that it's like it doesn't matter if he was a Jedi or not. It doesn't fucking matter.
I honestly kind of hope we just don't explain how he got
Yeah.
the force powers, like kind of
Yep.
like how we don't explain how KB got the accident.
Right. Like if it can like could he be a survivor of the purge? Sure. Could he be a somebody who fled the order? Sure. Could he just be like a loser who had the force? Sure. It
Right,
doesn't
right,
it
right.
doesn't matter, and I hope they stick to that. I hope it's just like yeah, kind of whatever.
Yeah, I feel that. Okay, so let's see other beats with this episode. What do you think about the cold open with the parents and the droids? I like how methodical the droids were in that opening chase scene.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't like those security droids. I something's up with them. I still think there's I hope there's a season 2 because I think there's something up with
With that added, just in
yeah,
general.
like what's its name? Not the director, the supervisor.
Uh-huh.
I still think there's something up with that. And I could see season 1's Pirates, season 2's Wizard of Oz.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, I definitely. I'll say this much: I feel like all the stuff with the pirate stuff is going to get wrapped up in the finale for sure. I mean, I
Mhm.
feel like it's like it's pretty easy to do. I hope they don't do some bullshit like fucking put like because they teased that the rat that was living inside of Smee's eye crawled out. I hope they don't do some bullshit where like the rat crawls inside of another droid and suddenly he has Smee's personality and memories. Like that would be some shit, man. Like we need to commit to these deaths. It was like it's honestly one of the most bold Star Wars deaths I've seen, and like
Mhm.
certainly more bold than the fucking sequel trilogies. Like, yeah, let's just systematically kill off the old guys.
Mhm.
Like that's not bold, guys. That's just fucking like emotionally manipulative.
Right. Yeah,
Like
this was just he didn't get any moment. He just zoom, there goes the
right,
sun.
right. Yeah.
It
Like
was
I
like
said, after having a relatively low key episode 6 as well.
yeah, it was like when Anakin's cutting off Dooku's hands. It's just boom, boom, there it goes. Very
Uh-huh.
much like, yeah, there's no build up. It's just there it goes. Get good, kid.
So one of the highlight moments of the series in this episode, I think, comes with the kids seen at Adden from space. I think that's always kind of a cool,
Yeah.
if you're doing a space story, seeing your planet from space is always kind of a cool moment, a cool visual, and I think they handled that moment well.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was saying though, with the we're gonna be clearing up the pirate stuff. I don't think by any means by the end of the finale we're going to have everything wrapped up about at Adden. And that's where I definitely think a season 2 could take place.
Right.
A season 2 could still have pirate shit in it. Again, like, I know that Jacob Weil is probably very frustrated at the fact that we still have no Hondo. I'm honestly fine with no Hondo. I think this show doesn't really need Hondo.
Yeah.
And honestly, from what I've heard, Jim Cummings is kind of a shithead currently.
Oh no.
At least as far as political views go.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, that might be a reason to just leave that character out of it. I don't know. I hate that we're kind of at that point. I hate that I'm at that point, but it's like, what can I say culturally speaking when I see what the fucking right is doing? It's like,
Yeah,
I can't fucking vibe with that shit anymore.
Yep.
Sorry, James Woods. I don't care how fun you are.
Don't care that your house burned down. I care about everybody else's, but fuck you.
I care about the irony of his house burning down
Yeah.
when he played Hades.
When he's actively going on talk shows and saying climate change isn't real.
Right. Exactly. Now I want to just be clear with that. With that, I'm not one of those people that's just like looking at the fires and is like, "Burn, California!
No, absolutely
burn!"
Not. Absolutely not.
They had it coming. No, I just think it's funny that right-wing celebrities who are talking shit about climate change are kind of getting into taking their own medicine.
Yeah.
That being said, obviously, any people that aren't like piece of shit celebrities that are caught in the crossfire, yeah, obviously,
yeah,
my heart goes out to them. I was in the Northern California fires. I know how fucking stressful that shit can be. I'm praying that this shit doesn't spread to Northern California.
We got snow the other day, and I was just thinking, we don't have earthquakes, we don't have hurricanes, we don't have fires. We don't have earthquakes, we don't have hurricanes.
I don't know how I would do in snow, because it's like, I definitely prefer cold weather to warm weather, but I don't know if I can handle that cold. I think that cold would be like a shock to me. Anyways. So yeah, we have the big cliffhanger with Jod and the lightsaber with the parents and everything. That's definitely going to be an interesting thing to kind of go back into at the end of the series to see how you think the parents are going to kind of like fight alongside the kids.
I think this is my theory. I think we're going to meet the supervisor. And I think at this point, my only theory that makes sense is that it's a droid. Because of the way he said, get me him when he was talking to the droids. Get me your supervisor. I don't want a droid. I fully expect it to be a droid and some sort of like droid, not uprising, but like, I feel like this is a false herring, a red herring, and it's not going to be Jod versus the parents. I feel like we're going to get some weird droid supervisor shit in the end.
I mean, I definitely don't think that the whole episode is going to be Jod. Do you think Jod's going to be taken care of like relatively quickly?
I feel like he could be.
Yeah.
Either that or he's going to turn coat and help, which
would piss me off. Please don't even suggest that. I'm sorry. If he didn't kill Smee, it would be totally fair game. But, once you do that, there's no going back. I'm sorry.
I still think Smee's coming back. Like, I don't know how they're going to do it, but we know they are. It's one
if they're going to do it, it's going to be through the rat.
Either that or I could see it being like an end of the episode stinger. It's like when
the rat crawls back into another droid and the lights come on in the eyes.
Yeah. Or I could see it, since they're not explaining things, it could also be just like Wim's taking his assessment and all of a sudden 33 just comes out.
Hey, Wim, I'm here to support you.
Yeah, and it's just like, how'd he get picked? Doesn't matter. Was God a Jedi? Doesn't matter. What was KV's accident? Doesn't matter. Fuck
Right.
you. I don't. It does not matter. Um, and if that's the case, if they just do it at the very end and he's back, I'm okay with that. As long as they don't explain it and make it stupid. I'd rather a somehow Smee returned in this situation.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, I think we're gonna meet the supervisor. It's pretty obvious that we are at this point.
Mhm.
I think it's either gonna be a droid just based on the way they were talking, or it could be that pirate, the French pirate.
Oh, that would be interesting.
I think like it would make sense that he would take over, right? The
Right.
ultimate
Yeah.
treasure is owning the mint.
Mhm.
It could be what's his name, Tac Renaud or something.
Dude, at this point, with Jod having as many fake names as he
Yeah,
does, it's so hard for me to keep track of the names of the pirates.
that's a pirate thing though. I'm pretty chill with
Right.
that. Speaking of pirate shit, I liked that Brutus just gets bodied immediately.
Yeah.
I
Like he's
we
literally set up at the beginning of the first episode to be like the big bad.
uh
But it's like, no, the big bad is the guy that we thought was gonna be kind of the the Long John Silver. But
right.
no,
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be honest here. Like, I don't know about the original book. I've read the original book, but it's been forever. I read that. I literally read the original book in elementary school.
Mhm.
But Treasure Planet, at least, I definitely don't think John Silver does anything remotely as like, just objectively evil as murdering Smee, right?
Yeah, if he had killed Ben, he would have been the good guy.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I I just don't. Again, I'm kind of sound like a broken record here. I just don't think a redemption arc for this character is going to be the right play here. I think specifically the reason why this show kind of worked as much as it did for me, especially going into episode 7, into episode 8,
Mhm.
is the fact that they were so bold with killing off Smee and doing it in a very, very direct, cold-hearted way. And then not only that, but we haven't talked about Jod fucking freaking out on the kids and like verbally berating them. I mean, that fucking great acting on Jude Law's part,
Uh-huh.
but like if they're like that's right after Smee dies, and it's like, okay, like if there's any indication that this guy is not a good guy whatsoever, here it is, man. Just verbally abusing children.
Right, and he tells Wim you're the worst one. Which
Poor Wim has taken so many L's throughout the course of the series.
I think he needed it, but still.
Right, he did a little bit, yeah.
But yeah, seeing his face. Oh, when he was talking to my boy Neil, and
uh
and Wim goes, "Don't talk to him like that." And he's like, "You're the worst one."
God. But
Um,
then I think he's got like a special sort of resentment for Fern just because he
uh-huh.
knows that like inherently Fern is kind
I
of a better fucking pirate than
I
he
feel like
is.
if he goes the Long John Silver route, which I really think is where it's gonna go, it just makes sense, even if it's not the most satisfying thing. I think Fern is the Jim
The Jim
Hawkins.
Hawkins.
Fern is definitely the Jim Hawkins. Like they set up Wim to be, but I really think it is Fern.
I think Wim is the person where it's like, no, Wim's gonna just outwardly hate him by the
Yeah,
end.
I could see
Yeah.
Wim like being the one who's like, You ruined my life,"
Right.
and Fern will be the one that like resentfully lets him go or something.
Sure.
I could see him like making an escape. The Here's my pitch. All right, it doesn't mean I like it. It's just what I think could happen. I could see the supervisor showing up, the pirates somehow getting through the barrier. I think they're gonna do it the way they did it in Clone Wars on that planet that had like the electromagnetic grid. And they're gonna like blow up the storm machines. And I think it's gonna be the droids versus the pirates. The droids are gonna win, and they're going to find Jod in the woods about to make an escape. and Wim's gonna try to stop him, and Fern's gonna be the one to be like, no, it's not worth it. That's kind of where I think it's going.
Yeah, I could see that. Sure.
Like, she's not like a fan of him, but they kind of like have a weird John Silver, Jim Hawkins respect.
Sure. Yeah. Right.
If Wim is the one who like lets him go, no, that's not Wim.
Yeah.
Wim needs to resent him. I want to see the time jump 30 years from now where Wim's a fucking space cop hunting him down.
Totally. Not like the Treasure Planet where Jim Hawkins is a space cop and it literally doesn't matter.
Right.
Like, oh, here's my good buddy John Silver. I'm not going to arrest you.
Right. No, I want Wim to be like space cop with a vendetta.
Right. All right. Well, I think that's any other stuff we're missing out on. I think we're pretty good.
Yeah. I like the scene where they get into the vault and there's all the dataries. And he's like showering in them, because if I saw a giant vault full of money, I probably would have done the same thing.
Classic pirate imagery.
Right. And it also felt like it kind of mirrors the Andor sequence in the Aldani heist.
Sure,
like,
a little bit. Yeah,
way.
I could see that.
Like, the two shows very much are like sister shows in a weird way.
One sister is like the manic pixie dream girl, and the other one is just straight goth.
Right. Like, same thing with like the Eye and the Storm to get into the barrier. That also felt pretty similar. So it's kind of interesting to see the similarities between the two. Whether that's intentional or not, I doubt it is. But it's kind of,
at the very least, I could see this show being greenlit specifically to be like complementary to Andor's tone, or you know, not complementary, but you know what I mean, kind of like a balance,
right?
Kind of something to offset Andor's more harsh tone.
And where we only have 2 Star Wars shows on the docket as of right now for 2025, being this and Andor season 2, they definitely factored that in.
All right, well, I think that will do it for us, PerGron. We will return next weekend, probably, to
do the final one.
Yeah, cover episode 8. All right, well, that'll do it for us tonight as we holster our remotes till the next installment calls for the draw. Mano y mano, just Plus and Us. You're the worst one!